What is it?
You say you searched all the base?
Yes, what of it?
Every nook and cranny?
Yes.
No chance of anyone hiding anywhere?
None whatever.
Did your men search in here?
Well,
Did they?
well, there were always people in here, so they probably...
Did they search in here?
No.
But there's nowhere in here they could hide.
Hi everyone, TARDIS Guy 123 here, and today I'm going to be carrying another top 10 once again, and today we're going to be counting down my top 10 base under siege stories. So there have been quite a lot of these, especially during the Patrick Troughton era. That was kind of like the typical story of his era. It worked, it was a good format, I think. I'm surprised there weren't more of them. You know, it kind of faded out during the John Pertwee era. Came back for a couple of the Tom Baker era, but it's mainly associated with the second Doctor era. And there's a good reason why. You have the monster season, which is basically the same format every so and so many episodes, where you got a group stuck in a base, got a limited supply of whatever, and from every angle is a monster coming at you. And you know, they put different spins on it and whatnot, but you know, and you know, I think it's a very good season 5, when it's got all those stories. The enemy world kind of fits out in that in a lot of ways. It doesn't have monsters, it's not based under siege, but nevertheless it is a good story. So without further ado, let's get on to number 10, which is The Wheel in Space.
Here, where's the Doctor? The Cybermen are going to try and lure him away and trap him.
He's already gone.
What?
I've got the spares.
Doctor, be careful!
Jamie! Oh, thank heavens. Are you and Zoe all right?
Yes, now listen. The Cybermen know you're on the wheel. They're going to try and trap you.
Yes, I guess they would. Have you got the time vector generator?
Yes.
Good. Now listen, Bear. I want you to bring it to me. Get somebody to show you the way through the air corridors. Hello? I think I've got company.
Company? What did you... Company?
Okay, so then The Wheel in Space, it's a rather basic story. You know, basically it's under siege plot. You got a wheel floating around in space, and the Cybermen are trying to attack it. You know, that's the basic gist. And while some people kind of like don't like it, they say it's the worst Cyberman story of the 60s. I agree with that, but you know, I don't think it's a bad story. It's just not up to the quality of the planet, moon base, Tomb of the Cybermen, and the Invasion, because those are all incredible stories. And this is a good story. Not an amazing story, but a good story, in my opinion. And yeah, it's very atmospheric. It gets the Cybermen right once again, just about. You know, they get that one-off costume in this, which I think is okay. It's a bit of a mix between the Invasion costume and the Tomb of the Cybermen costume. The only 6-part Cyberman story, and overall, a very good one. Maybe not the best end to season 5, but nevertheless, a good story. Now let's move on to Bad Wolf / The Parting of the Ways.
That's impossible. I know those ships. They were destroyed.
Obviously they survived.
Who did? Who are
200 ships. More than 2,000 on board each one. That's just about 500,000 of them.
500,000 what?
Daleks.
Alert! Alert! We are detected! It is the Doctor! He has located us! Open communications channel!
Now, while this story isn't exactly a based under siege story in the first episode, it definitely gets that way in the second one. And both episodes are very different, but very good nonetheless. Yeah, I just really like this story. I think Linda should have been a companion to the Doctor, really. She was a better companion than Rose was in terms of the Ninth Doctor. You know, and there's loads of other stuff that's good about this story. I really do like it. One of the best New Who stories, definitely the best New Who finale. So now let's move on to 8th place, The Ark in Space.
It couldn't be some sort of survival kit, could it?
Survival?
Yes, you know, the sort of thing they shove in lifeboats and things.
You're improving, Harry.
Am I really?
Yes, your mind is beginning to work. It's entirely due to my influence, of course. You mustn't take any credit. Now, what's missing?
Is it?
Yes. If we're to assume that some great cataclysm struck Earth, and that before the end they launched this lifeboat, then the one obvious missing element is man himself.
Well, The Ark in Space is the first real kind of base Under Siege story we've had since the Seeds of Doom, which was a long time ago in the Patrick Troughton era. So it's a very good back to basic story for the second story of the fourth Doctor. So it's just a very good, enjoyable story. I think it's got a couple of flaws, but other than that, it's a great story. So now let's move on to what? Well, as I just said, the Seeds of Doom.
Commander.
Yes, Miss Gunning.
I think I should go as crew on the rocket.
Don't be ridiculous. We're too valuable here.
But how can T-Mat be repaired if I'm not there?
Well, what about the other technicians already there?
Osgood's dead.
Now, as I said, this is the last base Under Siege story until the arc in space, and it's a very good one. I think it's got a lot of classic elements that really work well with this story. The Ice Warriors are there at their best, in my opinion, and yet there's just a lot of good stuff to like in this story. So yeah, that's the Seeds of Doom, and now let's get on to the 10th planet.
You must come and live with us.
But we cannot live with you. You're different. You've got no feelings.
Feelings? I do not understand that word.
Emotions, love, pride, hate, fear. Have you no emotions, sir?
Come to Mondas and you will have no need of emotions. You will become like us.
Now, the 10th planet is the first proper story to follow this lineup. Yeah, pretty much this format. I mean, and it's quite a good story. I think the first Cyberman story as well, and the first Regeneration story. A lot of firsts for this one, and it's funny because it's more like a Patrick Troughton story in that sense, based Under Siege, and that is a William Hartnell story. So yeah, overall, enjoyable enough story. Could have the Doctor in it more, but yeah. Now let's move on to 5th place, which is a story very much like this one, called The Moon Base.
It's them. They're coming. Everybody inside, quick!
Now, the Moon Base, not only does it feature my favourite design of the Cybermen, it's also a very good base Under Siege story, the first of the Patrick Troughton ones, and it's quite a good one. It's very scary in places. I think it's very effective in that respect. It's just got quite a lot of good stuff, quite a lot of good moments, and while it does have some bad stuff, and it is in a lot of cases a repeat of the 10th planet, I personally believe it's better than the 10th planet, to be honest. So now we're counting down, so let's get into 4th place, which is the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit.
Toby, there's no air, there's no...
Now, this is quite a unique base Under Siege story, and probably the only one to full-on follow that format in the new series. Of course, we had Bad Wolf and the Parting Ways, but Bad Wolf wasn't too much a base Under Siege story. That more came in Parting Ways. This is a full-on base Under Siege story with the enemy already within. A lot of senses. It's very creepy, very well done in a lot of ways, and yeah, I think it's just a fantastic story. So now, counting down, we're almost there. We've now got 3rd place, Horror of Fanlock.
We better get Harker up here and try to find Palmer there.
The cowardly one?
Yes.
Doctor!
Now, this is a great story and a rather unique spin on a base Under Siege story. And, the base is a lighthouse, basically. It's set in the past, early 20th century, and I think it's very well done. It's very small, very compact. You definitely get that feeling of claustrophobia. There's only a couple of sets, and it all comes together remarkably well. So that's 3rd place, Horror of Fanlock. Now we're almost there. Let's have 2nd place, which is Tomb of the Cybermen.
Are you happy with us, Victoria?
Yes, I am. At least, I would be if my father were here.
Yes, I know.
I wonder what he would have thought if he could see me now.
You miss him very much, don't you?
It's only when I close my eyes. I can still see him standing there before those horrible Dalek creatures came to the house. was a very kind man. I shall never forget him. Never.
No, of course you won't. But, you know, the memory of him won't always be a sad one.
I think it will. You can't understand being so ancient.
Eh?
I mean old.
Oh.
You probably can't remember your family.
Oh, yes, I can when I want to. And that's the point, really. I have to really want to bring them back in front of my eyes. The rest of the time, they sleep in my mind, and I forget. And so will you. Oh, yes, you will. You'll find there's so much else to think about, to remember. Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't watched this story in quite a long time, and there's a reason for that. It's because I used to watch it too much. It kind of cheapened the story for me, and made me almost dislike it. Not dislike it, as in kind of like hate it, but just, you know, get tired of it. I always wouldn't pay attention enough, because I know what happens. Over familiarity, you know, it kills quite a few Doctor Who stories for us, so I decided to stop watching this. I haven't watched it since I did the review of it, so just before then. So if you want to look back at the date for that, I think it was January sometime. As you know, I'm holding out. Sometimes I feel like I want to give in, but I know that if I do, then it won't be the same. So I really am holding out. I'm going to watch this one eventually, probably, you know, towards maybe January again, you know, towards winter when it's dark, so I can really get that creepy factor of it. But yeah, now let's move on to first place, the one you've all been waiting for, and probably quite a few of you guessed by now, which is the Web of Fear.
Soon your mind will be absorbed by the great intelligence. You should be very proud, Doctor. Your knowledge of the past will help to shape the future of this planet.
Just get on with it, please.
You seem very anxious suddenly.
I just want it over and done with.
Well, the Web of Fear, what a story it is. We only had it recently found, and it is absolutely amazing. Now, I think it's everything everyone hoped it would be. Now, I still don't think it's perfect. I mean, no story ever is perfect, but I think it's the ultimate base under siege story. Has a lot of good stuff going on in it, and you know, it does mix a bit between Base Under Siege and some other type of stories, but it's mainly a Base Under Siege format, and it works really well for this story. And yeah, I think it's just incredible, incredibly creepy, you know, everything you'd want from a 60s story. So yeah, that's my top 10. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all next time with the review of Kill the Moon. Bye, everyone.
It's more than likely we may not be able to defeat this menace. And that London, in fact the whole of England, might be completely wiped out.
Any attempt to interfere would be pointless. My Yeti can destroy you so easily.
I've sacrificed you all. And for what?
Thank you, Doctor, for being so cooperative.
There comes the vessels! What do you want?
You